go with another recording. Told you we're banging them out today. Look at the clock behind me. So, and my dirty kitchen. So, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about bishops. The reason we're talking about bishops today is because this is really the first time that the church has started a hierarchy. So, as mentioned in the previous video, we were talking about the church. It was very flat. Remember, it was just Joseph. It was David Whitmer, John Whitmer, Oliver Cowdery, Martin Harris. It was very flat. There was no real hierarchy there. But obviously, as the church begins to grow, you get people who kind of want to do their own thing, and you need some sort of management of all these people. So Joseph Smith starts to introduce the concept of bishop. Now, when we say bishop, we have something in our own minds. We think bishop of a ward, we think local jurisdiction, we think all that stuff. But we have to remember, there's no such thing as any of that stuff when Joseph Smith very first ordained Edward Partridge as Bishop of Missouri to the Church of Missouri. So Joseph Smith was in Kirtland. He didn't feel like he needed anyone to help manage the church in Kirtland, so he appointed Edward Partridge as his representative in Missouri. Now, when he appointed Edward Partridge as a bishop, Edward Partridge came into this, and he said himself, what nobody really knew what a bishop was. As a matter of fact, Newell K. Whitney mentions that too. Newell K. Whitney says that nobody really knew who a bishop was or what he was supposed to do or anything like that. I think Edward Hunter, when he's recalling this is in the Aaronic priesthood meeting minutes later on, many, many years, 1877 on, said Whitney did not know at the time, nor Joseph, either what the position of a bishop was, and he thought that Whitney thought like other like Catholics and Episcopalians, a bishop was the highest office in the church. Now this goes all the way back to just before the apostasy. This goes all the way back to Peter, James, and John. When they died, they had appointed bishops in different areas, and those bishops were the only church officers remaining. And so, because they didn't have apostles to lead them, they kind of counseled together to see what they would do. Now, the Eastern and the Western Church started getting a bit contentious. The Western Church started getting a bit jealous of the Eastern Church because when Constantine moved the capital over to Constantinople, the Western Church started to get a bit jealous, and that's when they started to claim primacy over all the other bishops. And that's how we got the Pope today. And it escalated until 1054. They excommunicated each other. I wrote a specific paper on the apostasy. If you want, I'll throw a link to it down below so that you can have a look at it. But this is the atmosphere that Edward Partridge was coming into. So in Doctrine and Covenants, section 64, I'm going to hide my messy kitchen there. It says that other bishops are going to be called. Bishop Partridge has already been called. This is in the lesson. It says, wherefore they shall be high priests who are worthy, and they shall be appointed by the first presidency of the Melchizedek priesthood, except they be literal descendants of Aaron. Now, this kind of gives a false impression that these offices existed, but we're going to go over the timeline, and we're going to see that these offices didn't exist at the time. So you can really start to understand Edward Partridge and Newell Whitney's, which is a confusion, okay? So these tensions developed between Edward Partridge and Joseph Smith. And Edward Partridge was running it like he was running his own kingdom because he genuinely didn't think he had to report to Joseph Smith over anything. So this led to some tensions. Just thought I'd throw up a picture of Edward Partridge there real quick. Really good guy, and he remained faithful until the end. He had kind of, his own ideas of what a bishop was, but he took instruction. Died in 1840, I believe, but he was fine up until the end. But what I thought I'd do is I'd throw just a bit of a timeline as to what happened with the bishops, just to give you an idea as to why Edward Partridge was confused and why Newell Whitney in Kirtland, when he was later ordained a bishop, was also confused as to what the office of bishop was. So let me just show you this timeline here. We've got the very first bishop, Edward Partridge, is ordained in 1831, and that's in Doctrine and Covenants, section 41, verse 9, here, where he calls the servant Edward Partridge as a bishop. So he's called as a bishop there, but on the 3rd of June, you'll notice back from the previous scripture there that the bishop should be a high priest. But yet we know from Doctrine and Covenants 41:9 that he's actually not a high priest yet. This didn't come until later, the 3rd of June, was when Edward Partridge was ordained to the high priesthood. So we got this a little bit out of order. On August 1st, in Doctrine and Covenants, section 58, verse 20, he's exercising authority because he doesn't think he has to report to Joseph Smith. So Joseph Smith has a revelation that says, "Let no man think he is a ruler." So there's tensions between himself and Edward Partridge for obvious reasons. Finally, we have Doctrine and Covenants, section 107. This is the one we all know, where it says the office of bishop is not equal unto it, which is the president of the high priesthood. So on the 11th of November, we're told he's subject to the president of the high priesthood. The problem was there was no president of the high priesthood back then. So you can understand why Edward Partridge is confused. Finally, on the 4th of December, Newell K. Whitney is ordained as a bishop in Kirtland, and it's only until the 25th of January, 1832, when Joseph Smith is ordained as president of the high priesthood, that Edward Partridge finally has the hierarchy straight. So I just thought I'd point this out just to show you exactly why there's confusion and how the office of the bishop has developed over time. I'd love to go into a bit more detail, but that's all we have the time for now. Thanks. Bye.